waiting for Baccarat, and that goes in! Hugo Baccarat gives Flint City a 3-2. Buckley, the ball falls to Buckley. One-on-one with Etheridge. What a save!
Welcome into the first ever MSN All-State Media Day for girls soccer. Jonathan Turner alongside Dan Stickrat.
Ball comes in, a good head! 1-0! Shot, another save from Etheridge! Rebound, and it goes in the back of the net. The Bulldogs up 1-0! Burzma, but then for Vlasma! 3-0! Stewart Heights with a shot! Upper 90 and in!
Effectively today here on the Michigan Soccer Network, we are launching our new division of player recruitment videos.
Mario Canoe now finds Sock. Finds Sock's got a left-footed banger. He shoots it! It's in! The Red Hawks equalize!
Now we're joined here on the Michigan Soccer Network with Jim Theis, the first-year head coach at Saugatuck High School on the west side of the state of Michigan. And Jim, first off, welcome and congratulations on the new gig.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, you're very, very welcome. Hey, so you're in your first year as the head coach at Saugatuck, and you have the team here 6-2-2 here to start the season. When you took over this new role, what was one of the first things that you wanted to accomplish?
I wanted to try to keep what was going well. I wanted to keep that going as well as I could. I knew that there was a big turnover in the players, but my goal was to try to keep them at a high level in the division.
No question about that. Obviously, starting the season off 6-2-2. One of the things we talk about, Dan and I do, at least on the ranking show, quite a bit is how difficult it can be on the west side of the state with weather and all those things to get games rolling here. That's one of the spring challenges as well, right? With the weather here in Michigan, one day it could be 78, the next day it could be 32 degrees and snowing. So that's just the weather, trials and tribulations of the weather here in Michigan. So, you still have a full schedule ahead of you, but, you're new to the high school soccer. You're not new to soccer, but new to the high school game. So what is the biggest challenge that you've had to kind of learn in this new role?
Well, it's managing the team and managing peripheral events associated with high school and boosters and the things that club coaches don't normally have to take care of.
The schedule is quite different as well, I'd imagine. I know as a former high school coach, I know that, you were looking at doing, in a lot of cases, 6 days a week of being with the team, between training and games. That's obviously slightly different than that of the club game, where you might see training sessions, maybe them 3 times a week, maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You go, last fall, we were able to practice just twice a week, but we still got in 17 or 18 games between state cup and everything else and tournaments. But this will be 17 games plus districts and so forth. But practice is every day you're not playing, you're practicing, it seems like.
And let's talk about this team for a second. Overall, again, a team that did very, very, very well last year, 17-3 before falling out in the district final last year. I know you said you mentioned some turnover, but who are the standout players right now here that you want to talk about here, touch on your team this season?
Well, we have certainly one of the best goalies in Michigan, West Michigan, and Michigan being recruited fairly heavily in Kennedy Gustafson. Great basketball player for Saugatuck, all conference and all those things. But I've known Kennedy since she was 9 years old. So, and she's been on my premier team. The outstanding offensive forces are Neve Rewa. She's a sophomore, and I think she's a complete soccer player and would be for any team that I could imagine. She's got all the shots left and right. Good defense, fast, very aware. And then we have senior Jen Schock, who has, 33 or 34 goals in her career. So she's very strong in the middle, very strong, even number 9 or number 8. and she is quite a leader on the team. Everyone looks up to her.
Okay. Now, obviously, we talk about talent. Obviously, talent does help win soccer games. I always like to ask this question, especially when we talk about players that maybe don't necessarily show up on the scoreboard or the stat books, right? With
Yeah,
there's always a player. There's always a couple
yeah,
players maybe on a team that just can, they put their team on their back. They can sometimes carry the play. But they just don't. You don't see stats, right? They're just a really good defender or a good midfielder. Is there someone on the team that's the dark horse, the player that maybe doesn't get all the rise and the glory that we might see, but without them, you guys would be out, left out in the dark.
yeah. I have actually two. I have a Sage Larson who plays as a holding mid, and I have Avery Smith who plays as a containing mid or attacking mid in the middle. Both of them are very active and keep the middle occupied pretty well against any team that we've come against so far. Once I got them into those positions, it took me, in fairness to them, it took me a bit to figure out who on the chessboard was supposed to be where.
No, and obviously, in your first year, sometimes it's going to take a moment or two to figure out kind of
Yeah.
where players are going to fit and how they fit into a scheme. Obviously, formations and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the former coach had a system, and the players maybe were used to that, and then you got to bring in a new system and a new way of doing things. So the learning curve, I'm sure, can be quite large in those moments. But if I going back to obviously in your first year. One of the bigger challenges too, not just learning the players, but maybe being able to bond with those players as well. We talk about this a lot. I had a chance to talk with Mark Soma here, who's
Yeah.
in Division 4 as well, and we talked about the fact that bonding is one of I think the larger challenges facing coaches today is being able to figure out a way to within training sessions, within games, and then schedules and all the family business that's going on. How do you find a way to still get this team to stay connected, both on and off the field? And what has been your recipe so far over there at Saugatuck?
I think I'm doing the same thing at Saugatuck that I've done as a club coach. As I get to know the players a little bit, I want to know a little bit about their families. I want to know, what makes them tick, what their interests are, and I want to know what distracts them. Whether it's something at home or something if they have a part-time job or something like that. So I want to know a little bit about them so I know what makes them tick, and I want to know also, and I also keep a good eye on how they interact with each other from the very first practice on, so that I could make sure that we don't form any cliques or any barriers to everyone getting along and knowing that they can contribute equally, no matter what position they're in.
Well, that makes sense. So I got two final questions for you here,
Sure.
Jim, and the first one is again, you've been around the game for a while. It's
Yeah.
we just talked about this before we got in the air here this afternoon. What has been the biggest change that you could see in players over the years in soccer? I mean, the player today is a different player than they were 20 years ago, and obviously
Absolutely.
with technology, with social media, there's so many different things that come into play. And a college coach here locally, Coach Kempe from Oak University, had a chance to be asked this question. He said the one thing for him that's always been the driving factor is just the non-negotiables. You figure out what the non-negotiables are when it comes to your players, and you let those are what you sell them on, and then the rest of it you're going to have to kind of figure things out. But what has been the biggest challenge for you as a coach with the ever-changing player?
There is some challenges associated with the players, say now than 15, 16 years ago, 18 years ago, with social media issues and with their connectivity among their friends. And I think you just have to accept that as part of the game, and you have to accept that as part of their lives. And it's a plus and a minus to me, because I think they get a lot from it. And it keeps them with a good circle of friends, especially as we went through the COVID business. But the other thing I would like to think is that they help them get to be better soccer players and all the way around.
No, awesome, awesome. Last question for you is this.
Sure.
We talk about food here on the network quite a bit. We love talking about food. Food is what I still believe brings everyone together. And sometimes it tears them apart if it's really bad food. But for the most part, food brings people together. So, thinking about that, if I were to say, what if today was your last day on earth and someone said, hey, what's the meal you're going to have? What would be your go-to meal?
Well, that's a tough one. Wow. Probably a well-prepared steak and trimmings. So
okay. So well prepared, is there like a filet mignon? Is it a New York strip?
Yeah,
ribeye?
Yeah, good tender, something prepared by someone who knows what they're doing and not burned on the grill.
Okay. Are you when you say the trimmings, you like mashed potatoes? You like little red skin
Yeah,
potatoes?
a little of that.
Few vegetables. Okay.
Sure.
Very cool. Hey, Jim, we appreciate you stopping by. You got a busy schedule coming up here later this week. You guys are taking on Coloma here. Well, actually took on Coloma this weekend already. You're taking on South Haven. I don't have a score here. So what was the final score of the Coloma game?
Coloma got pushed back.
Oh, got pushed back. Okay.
Yeah, kind of at last minute. There was a big flood down at Coloma in the rains a few days ago, Wednesday, and they had to. They said they didn't have a field available. So we postponed it until this coming Friday, I think it is.
Okay. So then you're seeing South Haven here coming up here tomorrow.
Yeah. South Haven will be South Haven will be an important match for us. Yep.
That it will. Then May 7th, you guys are at home again against St. Joseph Our Lady of the Lakes Catholic.
That'll be tough.
So some three good games coming up here in the next week or so. And hey, tonight we got the high school ranking show, and we'll talk more about that. But Jim, we appreciate you stopping by here for the first time on the Michigan Soccer Network. We wish you and your Saugatuck team the good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Goodbye.